First, I think I have to start off with at least one of the official who's actually been in the organization. Madam Kawal does. She has been the secretary of the England Kabaddi Association. I know that you are married to the World Kabaddi President, but your journey in Kabaddi at least started very much earlier. So actually, I think everybody would actually like to know how did you get into Kabaddi and how is your role as secretary of the England Kabaddi Association?
Hello, and I'd like to say happy International Women's Day to everybody here and anybody that's watching. And I was involved with Kabaddi. I got to know more and quite enjoyed watching the sport, and my involvement started with the administration, with various, because that's the big part of Kabaddi. People think, just playing the sport gets you, known internationally, but there's so much background work that goes on with the administration side. I was involved heavily with that, and initially the sport was introduced to the British Army. And Terry, who's here with us, she was one of the first women to play Kabaddi for the British Army. And I've also been lucky enough to manage the England women's team as well. And I think there's a lot more we can do, but I think with any sport, especially women always get pushed back because there's no financial support or there's no sponsorships. And that's across sports over with. It's happening in football, it's happening in rugby, and all the major sports. Women have always been sports, and we're trying to do that with Kabaddi as well. And it's been a journey, and we're quite lucky that we've got where we are today. And I will continue to support, anybody that wants to play Kabaddi. And my involvement has always been on a voluntary basis. There's not been any money. We've never had, any funding to help us go forward. I know in India there's big support with, the government do help the game of Kabaddi because that's where it originates from. But it would help when they supported teams outside of India, organisations out of India that could, progress further. I think in a way, if you've got a strong partner who's also passionate about the sport, they do push, each other. And I think I've always been in the background mainly, trying to, if I think something's not right or something can be done better, I will always say. And obviously there's always been issues, because there's different thought processes. And so I think there is always a, form and success.
I want to miss Shailaja. I think until the Iranian team actually won the Asian Games medal, before you became a coach, I think people were not actually knowing who you are. and suddenly after the Asian Games success,
Happy Women's Day. Because of today is Women's Day, that's why we came together in different countries. The Kabaddi lovers. We are the Kabaddi lovers. Yes. Before I am working as a coach in my provinces in India, my state Maharashtra, since from 1983. I got the I trained a lot of national players and my team after that I got the retirement in the 2014. After retirement again I started my second inning in the kabaddi. So kabaddi is my passion. I love kabaddi. I can't live without kabaddi. So I can't stay at home without kabaddi. So I went for the coaching. Sutar is my friend in NIS. When we are studying in the Bangalore, we are together. And already he was there. So he suggested my name and they called me and then I went to Iran. So Iran and see I went to the Iran as a mission. My mission I was and that is also my mission to win the gold medal. Because my in Maharashtra, my team is always winning team. I want to, I would like to stay with winning team. Okay. As a winning team's coach, I like that. So I work hard and. Kabaddi is an Indian game. Since last lot of years back, we are playing kabaddi, and suddenly we lose the match. That is also hurt me, okay? Because that day was very crucial day. I am crying from one eye. I am crying because of my India is lose, and one eye is crying, happily crying because my team means Iran team won the match. See, this is the very controversy. बिल्कुल एकदम से. So देखिए, it is a very when I am thinking that day that still I am crying that. I got the opportunity and I success that I grabbed that opportunity.
just to add on, how much of in other parts of the country? Because all the while Indian women has been winning all the tournaments, and suddenly you have the Iranian women winning. So how do you think it has actually affected women around the world to pick up the game?
Yes, result is proves the Kabaddi game is cross the limit of India. Okay, so it's now a world or Asian game popular game is Kabaddi nowadays. And I am also thinking that this result makes our game to go into Olympic also, because all countries are playing very good results they are getting. Even the Korea also to the popularity of the game.
Thank you, Ms. Shailaja. Let me move on to Therersa. You have been involved in a couple of years. You've actually traveled to US, to Denmark to play the game. How did your journey start with Kabaddi actually?
Well, I was actually in the police at the time when I was approached by Kawal's husband, and at first I had no. They approached me because I was a big into contact sport anyway. I played lots of rugby and judo, and so they said, "You're a big, tough, strong girl. I think that this could be the game for you." And I remember my first training session that I attended, and about 10 minutes into the game, I was actually thinking, "Oh my God, I think somebody invented this game for me. I actually love it." And within the space of only a few short months. With. Yeah, I love the sport, I love the people, I just love the crowd, everybody treats us so well. You know, I never had that experience before where people actually welcomed us so warmly, and the ethics.
You're coming from a country where the people are crazy about football and cricket and all those things. So how do you think that Kabaddi will actually has its unique attraction to at least the local English people? This is still new. And I think it is partly due to the nature of the game being so kind of hands-on, and so many women now want to also be doing that type of sport. They feel they're strong enough now. They're resilient. They like the ethics, and it's just fun. It's just a fun game to play. Thank you, Therersa. We'll come back to you later. Now I want to move to the other continent, back to Africa. Perpetual, you have been involved as a player, and now you're an executive council member in World Kabaddi. Tell us a little bit about how. I understand you were also in athletics or something before that. So how did you switch to Kabaddi? Your mic is off, Pepe. Your microphone is off.
Okay, my name is Perpetual. Mbutu first. Happy Women's Day all. I'm glad to see you. These are new pieces. These are wonderful programs. Thank you so much for the organizers. Okay. Basically, I'm a Kabaddi lover. I joined Kabaddi back in 2015. I've been doing athletics and football. I'm a member of athletics in National Police Service in Kenya. Now, this day, there's a certain day back in 2015, I see my coach helping out with the administration things and more about Kabaddi. Now I started doing much research on YouTube and Google, and I decided to be I was told to be the I broke my shoulder. What can I do for Kabaddi? Now quitting the world of Kabaddi. Well, the most of Kabaddi. And I basically I found that the National Police Service Kabaddi team was men. I have another team I found called Burrows and another team called 60, whereby I do the community policy Kabaddi and the police team. So basically currently I have 3 teams in Kenya and supporting some other teams and other several teams. Before you convince someone, you must tell him or her, come and watch, see how we do it. And it's risky, it's a body contact game. But I'm encouraged, I'm happy, and I know as we move, as we take this step forward, it's very, very different.
Just to add on, I know that Africa in general, finance is always a big problem, and a lot of the players they work full time and they do not have time to actually come to a sport, especially like Kabaddi, where
Kenya is a challenge, and first I just call them whenever I meet a woman who I see that she has a potential in Kabaddi. I call them or her for a cup of tea, or when I'm going for an athletic course, call her to watch how I train athletes and other people. So in that case, I ask her, can you run? If it's no, I can run. Maybe I do football. Then I tell her. Then because basically we do Kabaddis on weekends, I invite her even for a cup of tea on a weekend. For example, if I invite 5 for a cup of tea, and I move to them where Kabaddi is played. The next weekend they call me asking me where Kabaddi will be played. That is how I just try to fish them, because it's very difficult to convince people, especially here in Kenya, especially something which is not giving them money.
balancing your time between your education and actually playing Kabaddi, especially 2 years ago when you all were training for the World Cup. How do you actually balance your time?
Hello everyone, I'm Hahsvinne and happy Women's Day to everyone here. Yes, as what Sir said, I am a student and I have a really have a very in a different state, and my training will be at different state. So I have to travel on weekends, come to KL for trainings, and then I have to travel back to Malacca for study purposes. And then meantime, I had a team in my campus back studies also. So it was really, really difficult for me.
Just to add on, in Malaysia, especially the families, they do not want women, especially Indian families in Malaysia, they do not want girls to be involved in any sports. And especially Kabaddi, where you actually, it's rough and tough game. How did your parents look at it, that allowing you to get into the sports?
To be honest, I didn't get any. Why, as a girl, you are going for a rough and tough game like this? You can either choose badminton or tennis, and yeah, that sorts of questions. So I said, no, I have this passion on kabaddi, and I really love tough games. So I really kabaddi, playing kabaddi back my campus and also for World Cup and practicing with people and all those things. So I convinced them. I said I like.
Okay, now just a general question. Even World Kabaddi is having problems to actually getting more women involved, especially in the administration part of the organization. Perhaps maybe Mrs. Kawal or Shailaja, you can actually tell us how can we bring forward to convince women to actually get into the administration of organizations, because a lot of them, yes, they do play during their playing days, but as soon as they stop playing, that's it, they don't get.
First of the women's having the not self confidence is not more. So we must develop the women according to this. Okay. Female role model to be highlighted. We must highlight it in front of the newcomers one role model, and we must say benefits of kabaddi, just like job opportunities and personality development. You know, the kabaddi is a challenging game. Women must be strong, so we must develop the personality to the woman. Better safety measure to the implemented when the attitude to spectators and media should be motivating. Sometimes, what happens when there are women are playing, some comments are outside is ugly. So we must motivate from them also. Women coaches should be appointed to in more numbers of coaches we must produce in. See the in cricket also, when men's cricket is highlighting too much in the TV, and but when the girls are women are playing cricket, that matches are not showing on participation. They must participate, encourage them to participate, number of and quality of also. Be respectful with women kabaddi players and coaches. This is the very good point, I think. Women should be motivated and provided appropriate opportunities, resources, and equal. Another factor of the promoted participation in the kabaddi. What if we started kabaddi, women's kabaddi? What is the factor of the promote safety? What is the safety for women? Women kabaddi players facing perennially uncertain future. What is the future of kabaddi players? We must study on this issue, give the opportunity, and make them the strong, and give them the settle their future also. Like a boys are getting the more jobs compared to women. So we can think on this point also. Women kabaddi players should get equal opportunity along with equal pay. Payment also in the men's getting more payment than the women. And also when there are a competition, there so when there are you are giving to the males 1 lakh, you are giving to the women 50,000 only. This is the difference. This should not be there. Difference should not be there. There should be a tournament like the Pro Kabaddi League for the women as well. This is the very important. Encourage girls that much because they have a different mindset because of the injuries. See, the men's physique is different and women's physique is different. Women's internal organs are different than the man. So it must be aware about the point also.
Okay, so can we also give the other chance to add their views also? Let me pass another question to Mrs. Kawal. The organization aspect of it, because I think this is one of the aspects when if we look at IOC Olympics, they're all looking at least a 30% representation of women in organizational and administration. What do you think is the biggest problem that women are not coming forward to take up these positions?
I think it's always been a problem with any women's sports. Men get the opportunities before the females in any sport. But with the World Kabaddi, the intention is that we bring women at a 50% so that they get the same opportunities to become coaches opportunities are there, and it is getting there gradually, but obviously there's still more time, and there's a lot more we can do to make that happen.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I would like to ask Therersa a couple of questions also. After taking up the game, do you think that you are actually being a role model to the younger girls to really take up the same?
The game, and there's been quite a lot of interest. Even though I haven't played since, well, probably about 7 years now, I still get people coming to me and asking me about the game, and like in the hope that I'll be able to explain it or maybe put a team together. We have done some team games since, but as has already been suggested, the problem is it's time, it's financing, it's in it's not on the same level as the males. So really, if you want to play sport, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort, and I know certainly that Kawal and Ashok have spent their own personal money and time to try and promote the game, especially in the early years back in 2005 and onwards, where nobody in trying to get the exposure, trying to get the money and the advertising, and it's just down to a couple of really dedicated people that they've managed to get it to where it is today.
Okay, the other thing is, I know that you have been involved in a lot of sports, and you were also involved in rugby, and I understand you were the only female in an all-male rugby team. And how do you look at because one of the things that we were discussing also, that maybe in future there may be a way that we could have mixed. I think there will be a right direction to give equality.
Oh, if you could introduce it in school age, certainly. But I've watched the guys play, and there's no as hard and strong as I am, I would never want to go head to head with some of those male kabaddi players. They're absolutely phenomenal and extremely strong, aren't they? And also, like has already been explained, our anatomy is different. Where actually the frailer of the two sexes, unfortunately. So I did play rugby. That was in my early stage years, before, that you could definitely see the changes in the sex happening. So I think if you were to introduce it at school age, then perhaps you'd be able to do those mixed teams. But as we become older and obviously our bodies are changing and we're so different, I could never imagine actually playing kabaddi with a guy. We did do some training with the men, actually, because most of the team were military, and athleticism is a big one. You've got to have a history of sport, I suppose. So I've done a lot of bodybuilding and strength and strength type of exercises prior to doing these types of sports. So I think it's certainly not something that all women, I would say, could be involved in. It really depends on your frame and your prior involvement in sport, your, I don't know, yeah, so I think that really we did have players that were quite young. Some of the younger females would get injured. And also it's your mindset approaching the game. So, like, certainly mine, I think I was quite renowned for being quite rough and went in, that, like, with lots of confidence. I think you need lots of confidence. Obviously the training's really important. You need a good basis of the training. You need to be more technical, because injuries do happen if you're not using the correct techniques. So it's a combination of everything. So yeah, if I was to encourage mums like myself to be able to do it, I would say that really you do need a athletic base before you try and take on a sport like this. You would need to be in the gym, say, and do some conditioning of the body. Your musculature needs to be quite strong. You need to be quite athletic.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Your fitness.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, can I just shift towards to Perpetual? I think you. We have lost contact. Perpetual, we are not hearing your voice anymore. I think something wrong with your mic. We're not getting the sound. Yeah, now it's better.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I wanted to carry forward my athletic version of mine when I entered my college, but then I couldn't get a platform to perform well. Then I get to know that my campus they have this committee and I had interest on it and my passion. Yes, so I would really love to carry forward this after once I'm graduated.
Why do you think that happens then? There are a lot of officials, a lot of players that are really involved in sports, in kabaddi especially, but their own children are not involved in the sport at all. Maybe I can start with the scouts. Did you hear me?
Sorry, so that aimed at me, sorry.
No, I'm just asking. See, a lot of people in the parents are very
Good was that you want to encourage youngsters to
I can't teach also. Can you hear better now?
Sorry, if you want to answer that, because I didn't really quite hear.
I think
One of my things is, yeah, Therersa,
no, I think you were just saying about trying to encourage youngsters. Is that correct? How do we go and encourage youngsters to play the sport?
yeah, especially your own family members.
Are you going to that, Kawal?
Okay, right. I've got two grandsons, and my eldest, he actually played cricket throughout his secondary school, and he was school captain for the whole of that 5 years. And when you mentioned kabaddi, I think you've got to have a passion for the game that you want to play. It's not the same as in some careers where you think you've been successful yourself, that this would be a good career for my children. But when it comes to sport, they've all got their own ideas, what they'd like to do and what's passionate for them. And although my son's been brought up with kabaddi throughout for a very long time, the nearest they've actually got is turning up to do a bit of photography, or maybe if it takes
Okay, thank you. Okay, I think we are already approaching an hour of this session. I'm sure we have a lot to talk about. What I suggest is we keep talking, maybe we'll go another half an hour to an hour. So let's wrap up the whole session. But what I would like to have is each of you can day this year is choose to challenge. So can you all each of you take a minute, just talk about the challenge that women faces and what is your idea about the whole thing. Maybe we can start with Miss Shailaja first. A minute for each of you.
Yeah, it is very true. The women are lacking behind the men's players. So come to the kabaddi, because the kabaddi is in a very good team. We don't need a big play field. We don't need any more equipment. So we need a small piece of mats like this. So we anyone and everyone. Anyone and everywhere. We can say everywhere also. Kabaddi is a game where you don't require need attention carefully. While we while for men it is not difficult. Women don't have much. Okay. So this we must develop all these things. Then only we can see the more participation of women in kabaddi.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, can I have Hahsvinne? A minute for you to say. Speak.
Timings. Like to say that if parents or women to take part in kabaddi or any other sports in this world, it will be very, very beneficial for them to just show their talent out. I believe so. And other than that, challenges, I don't. I think that's all for me.
Okay, thank you, Hahsvinne. How about Perpetual? Your mic is off.
I think most of the challenges that we ladies experience in kabaddi is the support, especially, and let me talk about the attitude, because most people encourage men to play kabaddi than ladies. So you find when ladies are training, it's not seen like a very important thing for ladies to do kabaddi. So for it to be like balanced, what men are being done to, the women should be done to. Also, when we have like international events, previously the ladies are not very much considered as men, and I understand even in terms of maybe given ladies will be encouraged to play kabaddi, and we have those holders that people like mentors who always stand there and to advertise on how kabaddi is played for ladies. I understand we have a account for ladies. I was told by Madam Kawal, we can make it more active and more active. We told them it's not only men, it's only important. We try to be active in it, and also we try to bring many ladies on board, like for ladies to see that they are well represented. With that one, I think we can have a great. Thank you.
Thank you. How about Mrs. Kawal? A minute.
Obviously,
structured and given enough time and the opportunity to have competitions. I think that's the biggest thing for women, because it's fine women training and day to day or having a weekly session of training, but if they've got nothing to aim for, they get a bit disheartened, thinking, well, when's the competition coming up? We have to have a set date to say, well, you're going to train for a few months, we'll be going such and such place, and that's your biggest competition tournament. So we've got to have an aim so that all that training is not going to waste. So it'd be nice to have a competition which can, all the players can train and say, well, at least this is what we're aiming for. So that's what we should be doing.
Thank you. How about Therersa? To wrap.
A couple of times to speak about Kabaddi or to, try and advertise it, but not really enough. I think that we should herald these women that are fantastic. We should say, look how amazing this girl there's no incentive for, and like Kawal said, you'll be training 2 and 3 months and then you may have a match at the end of it and it might be an exhibition. Be dedicating all this time and all this effort, risking my body for something that nobody really considers that important anyway, because we're an afterthought.
Thank you, Therersa. Okay, let me finish up the whole thing. I think Kabaddi has been looking at engaging, how to engage the women to come into Kabaddi. Not only that every competition that we have, there must be a women's competition, not just men going there, enjoying themselves and coming back. And over the last 1 hour, I think we have got a lot of ideas, a lot of views from the ladies themselves. I would like to thank all 5 of you for sharing your experience and sharing your views, how we can push women's Kabaddi forward. Issues related to Kabaddi and women. You must also understand we have never had this session in any of the men. So it is not breaking that we actually started off with the women. So on behalf of the President and the Executive Committee of World Kabaddi, I would like to thank all 5 of you ladies for joining us for the last 1 hour. And we hope that we can catch up again. And once again, happy International Women's Day. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
It's not live anymore.